Smackdown was last night, and it's a go-home show for a pay-per-view, so let's fantasy book this and take it over to the action figures. Okay, Smackdown this week is the go-home episode for the pay-per-view on Sunday, which is the horror show at Extreme Rules, outside of maybe Great Balls of Fire, one of the worst pay-per-view names ever. And it opens up with a match between Big E and Cesaro, with Kofi and Shinsuke on the outside. This is setting up a tag team title match at the pay-per-view on Sunday. And although Cesaro gets the win, Big E and Kofi stand tall in the end. Afterwards, backstage, Shinsuke and Cesaro announce that the stipulation for their match on Sunday will be that it's a tables match. So let's fantasy book. I'll start by saying that Cesaro is one of these characters that's on my list of optimists, so I don't have his figure and I don't plan on getting it. But I did always like the concept of the League of Nations. I just think they didn't really utilize them properly. So here I would reform that with Sheamus as the kind of de facto leader and former member that ties it back to the original group. I would add Rusev, but obviously he's gone, so instead we'll have his old tag team partner Cesaro, his current tag team Cesaro's current tag team partner Shinsuke, and then let's go with Canadian Indian Jinder Mahal. And heck, why not? Sami Zayn can be their manager when he comes back. Backstage, Baron Corbin's getting interviewed, and I gotta say, I really like his King outfit. All the King outfits of the past have been really corny, but I like his kind of Game of Thrones inspired black crown and natural fur robe. I think it just really fits his dark heel character and gives him that sense of authority he's always thrived with, like when he was the constable and everything. I do need to get a new figure, either of the King gimmick or of his short hair and suit, but right now the only one I found is kind of expensive, so I don't have it. Really all this did was set up the ending to the show. We move on to a moment of bliss. I've always loved this segment. I really think it brings out both of these characters, but Bayley and Sasha Banks interrupt. At first we think they're the special guest, but really it turns out that the special guest is Asuka. Alexa then, for some reason, has the ability to make matches now and makes one between Bayley and Sasha versus Asuka and Nikki. I questioned why Alexa isn't wrestling, and I guess it's just because she doesn't technically have a match on Sunday, so she was just kind of introducing this. As for a fantasy book, I don't really have anything specific, but I could see either one of these tag teams breaking up. Either Alexa turning on Nikki, or Nikki even turning on Alexa, frankly. And of course, everybody's been talking about Sasha and Bayley breaking up for the longest time. So as long as they do it well, build to it properly, and there's a really good payoff match, I wouldn't mind seeing either one of these. We cut to a promo out at a swamp with old cult leader Bray Wyatt. Great to see this character back. I'm really glad that they're having this feud between him and Strowman. I don't necessarily know if the Universal title needs to be on the line or involved in any way, but I do like seeing this old version of him back and getting a little more recognition that he never got before. Morrison comes out with The Miz. He's been terrified all night because he has to take on Braun Strowman. I do like Braun's promo here. He admits that the last thing he wants to do is face The Fiend, so he's clearly scared of The Fiend, but not necessarily cult leader Bray Wyatt, and he's obviously already beaten the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt. I need a Fiend action figure so bad, but they are unfortunately really expensive. As for the fantasy book, I want Bray to lose on Sunday. because this will kill off this version. The Firefly Funhouse version has already been beaten, and that way you can have Bray resort to the Fiend in this final third match. You can either have him win the belt again, or there could be shenanigans of some type, allowing Braun to hold on to it longer, since he'll be looking like a monster by that point, beating two different versions of Bray. Either way, the Fiend needs to stay strong, stand tall in some way, and then move on to the next opponent. Okay, so they recapped the whole women's karaoke thing from last week, which was stupid. And then there was a match between Lacey Evans and Naomi. I don't have figures for either one of them. So it was dumb. It made Naomi look bad. They've been sabotaging Naomi for years now, ever since she won the title in her hometown of Orlando back at WrestleMania. I don't know what to tell you. No fantasy book, no picture, no figures. This sucked. Sorry, Naomi. Jeff Hardy's getting interviewed backstage and then takes a boot from Sheamus. No real fantasy book here. Frankly, I just wouldn't be doing this storyline at all. And also, why is this match next week? This stupid bar fight instead of at the pay-per-view on Sunday? I'm sure you could even throw a horror element in there. I don't know. AJ Styles versus Matt Riddle is our main event. All the superstars have been talking about this in little segments throughout the night. Honestly, I don't really like AJ, and I don't have a figure for Matt Riddle, so I'm just not going to fantasy book this. But it ends with Corbin not interfering. He lets the match finish, but attacking Matt Riddle after the match, which is obviously alluding to earlier in the night and also setting up their feud moving forward, which itself was set up by a kind of Twitter spat where Baron was going on and on about how guys like Riddle don't pay their dues. They just come up and get handed everything. Anyway, that's the Go Home show. I hope it excited you for horror show at Extreme Rules. I know it didn't really excite me.